Hello and welcome to today's session. We are on week 3 and we'll be discussing version control. Version control contains Git fundamentals, GitHub workflows, and command line interface basics. What is Git? Git is a version control system. It helps to track changes in your code. It allows multiple people to work on the same project, and you can go back to previous versions of your code. Why is Git important? It helps to prevent loss of your code. It makes collaboration easy. It keeps project history and used by companies and open source projects worldwide. There are two words that are being used interchangeably. They are Git and GitHub. They are basically different things. And what do they mean? Git, in its own sense, is a tool for tracking code locally, while GitHub is a platform used to store Git repositories online. So GitHub houses the Git changes or the Git code. Also, GitHub enables collaboration with developers, code reviews, issue tracking, and continuous integration and continuous development. To install Git, first you need to open your browser and type git and search. The first index that comes up, you'll see it, Git, you click on it. When it loads, please take note of the URL that it comes with, git-scm.com. Then click on install. Depending on the kind of platform you are using, depending on the kind of machine you are using, if you are using Windows machine, you can click on the setup, exe setup, and it will download. If you are using your Mac OS like me, you can use the brew to install Git. If you are using the Linux operating system, you can use apt-get to install Git. So these are the various ways you can use to install Git. But for our case, I have already installed Git, so there's no point of installing Git anymore. What is version control? Version control is a system that tracks changes to files over time. It saves different versions of your project, allows you to go back to previous versions. So, for example, if you have a login page or you create a login page, that will be like your version 1. But remember that your login page takes the input of your email and your password, or phone number and the password, or whatever you want. So that is a version of your login page. Then, if you want to make improvements on your login page, you can add your validation, whereby people cannot use invalid emails or password less than 8 characters, or password must have like special characters. So that's an example of the validation. So when you finish with that, you can name that your version 2. Then also, after doing that, maybe you try to test your program and you see that it does not work, then you make your fix and bugs, then you can name that your version 3. So you can see that there's a progression of your history of what you're trying to develop. Then, why version control is important? It's very important because it prevents loss of work, it makes teamwork easy, it tracks who changes what and when they change it. It helps to fix bugs by reverting to earlier versions. It also enables experiments without breaking main code. There are many IDEs or code editors that are used to develop a program. But for this case, we're going to be using the Visual Studio Code as a code editor to develop our program. So this is how the basic interface of your Visual Studio Code looks like. I'm going to introduce you to just at the left panel of the Visual Studio Code. So first is your file explorer. This is where you have like the overview of your project, your files, your folders, and basically everything relating to your project. The second one is basically a search where you can search something within your project and you can see like the history of the things that you've searched for. But I won't go to the rest of this because at this stage it is actually not important because some I intentionally add them myself because of what I'm working on. But one thing I want you to focus on is the last two um the last two icons you can see. So this account, this is where you can connect your GitHub repository. So if you are not signed in, you will see sign in with your GitHub account. That's for pull request. Yes, so you click that option, it will take you to a page so that you can sign in with your GitHub. Then it will direct you back to this Visual Studio Code to continue your development. So make sure that when you've signed in, it looks like this. It looks like this. After getting conversant with the Visual Studio Code, next is to build our web application. So I'm going to go ahead to create a folder where my application is going to exist. So I'm going to click open, and then I want it to be in desktop. I already have a folder where I want my program to be, but you can go ahead to create your own folder. You select it and you click on open. When you click on open, you can see that my own folder has opened. That's the login page. So whatever I'm going to do will be inside my login page. So I'm going to go ahead to create a simple web page. So I'm going to name this index.html. Then I'm going to create a simple HTML page, body, form, and input. I'm going to duplicate this, type text, name, this will be an email. So let me just type password, name, password. So you don't need to worry about what I'm trying to create for now. I'm just trying to create like a simple web page. In the following classes, you get to learn how to do all of this. So after I've created my simple web page, let me just view what I have here so that I can see what has actually been done. So okay, so I have this. So if I put this for my email, okay, so this for my password. So you can see that it won't let me, you won't be able to see the password because I set the input to password. So after I must have done all of this, all my programming or all my coding, the next step is to initialize my Git repository. Remember that you have to be connected to GitHub. So you have to make sure that this is showing like this. So we'll open our terminal. You see your terminal and you open a new terminal. The first thing you need to do is to initialize this repository. How do you initialize this repository? By using the git command. So to initialize the repository, you are going to do git init and you enter. When you do git init, it will tell you that there is a change, and you can see that that particular file is marked. The is marked. What does this actually mean? This means that Now Git can now track all your files or all the files inside your project. So it's keeping a tab on whatever you do, your changes, what you delete, what you add. So after you must have initialized your um your file, the next step is to add these changes that you've done or your files. And how do you add these files? You're going to use the git add command, all. So there are two types of adding files. Either you specify the name of the file index.html, or you do git add and dot. What this actually means is that when you use the git add dot, it means that you want all the files inside that particular project to be added to GitHub. But if you just specify a particular file, it means that you just only want that file to be added. So imagine you have tons of files, tons of applications. You cannot just individually going to be adding each of them one by one. So you need like a wholesome way to add all of them. So that's why we actually use the git.add. So you can use the git of add. Then after you've added, the next thing you have to do is to commit. Commit is you are trying to prepare all these changes to push to the GitHub repository online. So you do it with the git commit, and the git commit always have a message. This message is to tag that your commit. So I'm going to name this first project. I'm going to enter, then to ask for a password. I'm going to input my password. So you can see now that GitHub has already marked that my file to be uploaded to the GitHub repository, and you can see the insertion. I have 8 insertions. It has created a tracker to show that this file, every time I make a change to this file, it's going to know and it's going to update itself. So the next thing you need to do is to do git push. I know you must be confused at this point too, because you don't understand what is happening at this stage. What happens at this stage is that you don't have a repository yet where these changes are supposed to be pushed to. So when I use the git push command, it's supposed to push the changes that you have on your local computer to your repository, to the GitHub repository. But remember, you've not connected your GitHub repository with your local changes. So that's why you're going to see it needs you to add a name, or it needs you to add a URL where you want to push these changes, because at this point Git does not know where these changes is supposed to go. That's why you are seeing this error. So one of the ways you can quickly fix that is to click on the source control. If you click on the source control, you can see a publish branch. If you click the publish branch, it's going to pop up a loader where you see whether you want to publish to a private repository or you want to publish to a public repository. So what this actually does is that it is going to help you and create your repository on GitHub. Yes, it's going to create your repository on GitHub. So for this case, I'm going to make it public. I'm going to click the public repository, and I'll wait for it to finish. So it's asking me, it has successfully created my GitHub repository. So now I've connected my GitHub I've connected my GitHub repository to my Git. So if I try this command again, you are going to see what will happen. So you are seeing now that everything is up to date because I have connected my GitHub to my Git. So I'm going to make another change again, and you see that I will not see that error. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to ask questions when you are stuck. I'll be available to put you through the guidance you need to complete this session. Thank you guys and see you later.